So I think and I've written that something to this effect in the book.
Okay.
I think when you start going down memory lane, right, doors and windows and little things just start opening up that you didn't even know existed.
Wow.
Because one thing triggers another. We were having an interclass match, and our star batsman Ajay Malhotra was walloping him.
Okay.
Right? Okay. And he was like, every ball was being hit for a 4 or 6 or something like that. And Mukul Dev was getting obviously riled up. And I was from the sidelines, I was heckling him even more. Right? And then he suddenly came up to me, and I'm sitting on the steps, and he's like towering over me, and he's like, he almost bashed me up. Right?
You remember it so clearly.
That incident I remember. But when I was interviewing him, I reminded him, he says, I was always the captain and the best player in my batch. But what happened was, around that time when he was being walloped, he says, a little before that, I got a girlfriend.
Okay.
And in his word, he says, I was aloof.
About Shah Rukh Khan, one of the biggest names coming out of your school. Any stories that we should look forward to reading in the book? Also, did you meet him personally, or anything that you used to hear about him, how he was, something for the fans of the great SRK?
Yeah, about Shah Rukh Khan, I remember, I think in class 6 or so, we had an elocution teacher, and everybody had the hots for her, Mrs. Sudan. But the word on the street was that she had the hots for Shah Rukh Khan.
Your school is by the Christian brothers.
Yeah.
So this sentiment, although we know the people who study there, we are aware that how great it is, and nobody is influenced at all. And that is something which I love about these schools, contrary to popular belief.
Absolutely.
And you have written about this in
Absolutely.
the book as well. So any comments about that?
So this is what makes institutions like St. Columba's exceptional, because whatever the personal beliefs of the brothers who are managing it, right, they never imposed it upon us. So the school was truly secular in both letter and in spirit. So somewhere, not just the moral science class, but I think the way the school extolled its values across the board, right, and they ensured that all the teachers, all the staff, like kind of adhered to those values. I think through that process of osmosis, it kind of got ingrained in us. To be honest, I think the whole adult world is doing more lip service, in some cases not even lip service, towards reading, and not really kind of doing something which is actionable, because I think there needs to be a structured intervention for children to go back to reading.
Hello book nerds, welcome to a new episode of the Booknerds podcast. This is part of season 3 and we are shooting at the amazing Kunzum GK2 in Delhi, and we just hosted Ajay Jain, who is the founder of Kunzum, and he is the author of Charlie's Boys, and this book talks about his time growing up in the 70s and 80s in St. Columba's school in Delhi, and it's so much fun. It evokes nostalgia and the times, the politics of 70s and 80s, and some mischief, a little bit about some celebrities that were studying in St. Columba's back then, like Shah Rukh Khan and Mukul Dev and his brother. We discussed about the Christian brothers, how they conducted themselves, and created this beautiful institution. And I also had some things to pitch in because I also come from the Patrician Brothers School, that's St. Joseph's Academy, Dehradun, and it was a conversation. We had a lot of fun, some great funny anecdotes, and so much more. So watch the episode. If you remember, if you're nostalgic about your school, you'll love this episode. Do let us know in the comments what you felt about this. If you relate to it, if you are an alumni of such a school, do let us know in the comments. And watch the podcast and have fun. Hi Ajay, how are you?
Hi Rohan, always good when I'm sitting with you.
I was just talking about our last podcast back in the season 1, and I was talking to all your employees and team members, and Utkarsh tells me when he was about to join Kunzum, he researched about you through our podcast
Okay,
together.
great.
So that is compliment to that podcast, that it is kind of on the internet just to kind of explore you
Yep.
as a person. Not that you have done so much content after that with so many people, but it's a sort of homecoming for me because we are going to discuss another book by you.
Sure.
And a new one has come out. It's called Charlie's Boys. It's right here, and a cool mock-up back there as well. And it's a memoir, and you're talking about your school and your growing up days. And I was particularly I was looking forward to it actually, and I commented on LinkedIn as well that I'm going to read it, and serendipity, and I read it for this podcast. Loved it because I'm an alumni of St. Joseph's Academy, Patrician Brothers,
Yeah.
and I could relate so much.
I'm sure.
I could completely. I was like, oh my gosh, why haven't I written this book for my school?
I think you should write one book because
I think.
the thing is, that's the beauty of memoirs,
Yeah.
right? You and I could have lived the same life,
Yeah.
but our stories will be different, our perspectives will be different.
Wow. Yeah. It was like I just got goosebumps. It's not. I'm from Dehradun. I
Yeah.
won't get goosebumps from this cold, right? From in Delhi. But you know why I got it? Because those little stories when you're growing up in kindergarten,
Yeah.
in your school, and the brothers and all of that ecosystem, the teachers. My kids go to the same school now,
Okay.
St. Joseph's, and I could see so much sameness in St. Columba's, and only alumni from the Christian Brothers or
Yeah.
Patrician Brothers would understand what I mean. The moral values you grow up with, you stand
Absolutely.
by. Like our motto is Uddimo hi para puja, and work is worship. What is Saint Columba's? And after that, I'll have follow-up questions.
I think it's like it just implies, whatever they say in their own way. Sincerity, dedication, respect. That's what the whole value system is about.
Okay, great. So
Yeah.
that's what I appreciate in these schools. Contrary to many people, many people have the perception that there is. I'll have that question later. But tell me about this memoir, because a lot of it. How did you because I was trying to figure out how to write my own regarding the same, and how did you remember all these things and put everything together? Because it's a lot of content which you have to extract from multiple sources. What happened? How did it come about?
So I think and I've written that something to this effect in the book.
Okay.
I think when you start going down memory lane, right, doors and windows and little things just start opening up that you didn't even know existed.
Wow.
Because one thing triggers another, right? And then when you start conversing with some of your batchmates, some of the teachers who still survived, right, and it triggers off a little more further.
Yep.
In fact, I was surprised that a lot of my batchmates didn't even remember close to what I remembered. The only exception who remembered in vivid detail, unfortunately, he passed away before the book came out, is a batchmate called Mukul Dev.
Of course.
And Mukul Dev, popular actor in school, he was called Mukul Dev Kaushal, by the way.
Yes,
To the
yes.
world, he
I
was.
read in the book, yeah.
But to the world, he was Mukul Dev. But he had one hell of a memory. He remembered every little detail. And so he was quite helpful. And
Let's talk about Mukul Dev for a moment.
Sure.
Because I met him in Dehradun. He was
Okay.
there for a film festival.
Okay.
And I went and watched his movie, Omerta. I mean, he wrote the movie. And he doesn't get enough credit for that, I know. But he wrote the movie and it was his concept entirely. But it's crazy that he could, remember all of those things. Tell me more about that, your conversation with him, perhaps.
So, interestingly, we were batchmates for 13 years.
Okay.
And we hardly had any conversation one-on-one in school.
That happens.
Right. And even when we met at some alumni get-togethers, we, beyond a few smiles and highs, we really didn't talk much. But when I reached out to him about a year ago, when I was writing this book, researching this book, he was very forthcoming. We had multiple calls. And what he used to do was he would send me long voice notes.
Oh, nice.
Right. So I still have those recordings. And when you play back those recordings, it's uncanny.
Oh my God.
Right. The only interaction I had with him in school, it's interesting, and it's also covered in the book, is we were having an interclass match,
Yeah.
and our star batsman Ajay Malhotra was walloping him.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And he was like, every ball was being hit for a 4 or 6 or
Okay.
something like that. And Mukul Dev was getting obviously riled up.
Yeah.
And I was from the sidelines, I was heckling him even more. Right. And then he suddenly came up to me, and I'm sitting on the steps,
Yeah.
and he's like towering over me, and he's like, he almost bashed me up. Right.
You remember it so clearly.
That incident I remember. But when I was interviewing him, I reminded him, he says, I was always the captain and the best player in my batch. But what happened was, around that time when he was being walloped, he says, a little before that, I got a girlfriend.
Okay.
And in his words, he says, I was aloof. So that's how he put it. Right?
Actually, you are in Louvre when you are in school, right?
And he said, like, suddenly my physical fitness went down because I was so focused, I was not practicing enough. And that is why Ajay Malhotra managed to hit him like everywhere.
That was his reason.
Yeah.
Okay. Not that the batsman was great.
No, the batsman was, Ajay Malhotra was a very good batsman.
Okay.
He used to play for the school.
He was not in the zone. Mukul Dev was not in the
Mukul Dev
zone.
was as good as him.
But he was not in the zone because of the love factor.
Because of the Louvre.
Louvre. Yes.
Yeah.
We have to call it Louvre from now
Yeah.
on. Yes, absolutely. So much fun, this book, a lot of great anecdotes.
Thank you.
And especially from your kindergarten, such cute anecdotes. Would you like to share one or two from kindergarten? Because I've read about them, but for the, readers.
So I was telling two of my classmates, Varun Pava and Prashant Jain, and they have absolutely no recollection of this.
Okay.
Like I was just in some context, I must have mentioned that there was a piece of paper lying on the ground, and I touched it with my foot. And they said, if you touch a piece of paper accidentally with your foot, then you can ask for forgiveness. But when you do it deliberately, there's no forgiveness. Now you're going to go to hell. And I was, for so many days, I was so scared something was going to happen to me.
Goodness.
And we were like 5 years old.
Oh my gosh. But that's quite understandable. We used to take those things seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. My kid is my daughter is 5 years old. She's very serious about about school, about, something like that happens. She would take it seriously. Anyways, so great. Let's talk about a little bit of you before we get into the school per se. Your entire experience, because there is a sort of impression of everyone that how was I at school, how did I perform, how did I kind of interact with teachers, what was my impression in the eyes of the brother, perhaps did I have any interactions, or I got bashed up by brothers? I did, to be honest. And what about your years, and of course we'll get into the nitty-gritties later.
Yeah, so I think despite me doing academically fine, right, I was like in the junior and junior years, I would finish 7th, 8th in the class. As we went towards class 8, 9, I started coming the first one or two, right? And but despite that, I always used to feel on that parent-teacher meeting day that I'm going to get it. And then the discussion with my parents would be over in like 2-3 minutes because the teacher wouldn't really have anything to say. And because I was not up to any pranks, I was like a little docile in that matter.
Yes.
Docile in my actions, not in my mind. In my mind, I wanted to do a lot. But there was that fear.
But there was nothing like, you were like not creating any ripples as such, so that the teachers would be interested, like is he naughty or notorious, whatever.
Yeah, so I didn't do, to be honest, all these years, I just thought that we were all kind of good boys, most of us, right? And when I started researching for this book, I started chatting with my batchmates again, and then I realized they were having so much fun, despite the discipline of the brothers. Wow. And I was the one missing out.
That has happened to me also. I must agree, because, although bunking was like very tough. I mean, who would do that? You would be risking your entire freaking career.
Like, I didn't think anybody was bunking, but they were bunking.
People bunking.
I said, how did you bunk with these brothers on the prowl all the time?
Why weren't we bunking? That's my question. And a lot of people had it figured out. There were crevices in some boundary wall or somewhere.
Yeah, but you're missing from the class. I'm telling you that the principal and the headmasters knew exactly who's in class, who's not in class throughout the school,
Damn.
not just your class teachers.
Wow.
They had these antennas.
Yes.
See, this is like, and they had those antennas because there was
Yes.
no technology.
Yes. They were very aware.
Yeah.
Like who would kind of, mess with the system.
But the thing is, this is what I tell my children. I said, look, what happened was that, see, there were two kinds of boys in the school. One were all the dhurandhars, right? All the guys creating mischief and all that stuff.
Yes.
Right? Doing, like, really having a ball of a time. And then there were the others who were also getting, kind of into extracurriculars, buying all the debating team, theatre teams and all that stuff. But what happened was, the moment we were out of school, right? The moment we got into college and then we got into jobs and stuff like that, most of them, just as if some switch got off, right? And they just kind of became so staid and boring and just, following a set path. Okay, I picked up a job in McKinsey, or I went on my MTech, I'm working as a software engineer, and that's what their life became. I said, but I flipped my life. What I didn't do in school, I started doing as an adult.
Yes.
And that is more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I will be going back to that. A bit about the reading culture at your school and how is it now? Do you know about it? And because you are now in the publishing ecosystem, so your comment on that, what was happening back then?
So again, this is what I keep saying, that today, reading is something we discuss, we should read. When we were growing up, reading was just taken for granted. Everybody in a class of 50, whether you were finishing at the top or at the bottom, everybody read books. No exception. Right? And we would borrow from the libraries, people who had the money, they would buy books, we would exchange books, but we were reading all the time. And it was like a competition, like, depending on how old you were, who will finish all the Secret Sevens and the Famous Fives, the Nancy Drews, Hardy Boys, Agatha Christie's, P.G. Woodhouses, right? In my case, James Hadley Chase, right? Who would finish all of them? Right? And unfortunately today, whether it's my school or any other school, the whole reading culture has just gone down. It's a universal problem that we are facing, not just in India but globally. Right? So I think this is something that I'm a very strong advocate of, that we need to go back to reading simply for so many things, whether it's like our overall wellness, our happiness, our development, our creativity, our intelligence. Everything eventually has
those antennas.
Absolutely.
The brother used to have awareness. Just,
absolutely. Absolutely.
So you have been doing these events also. I saw on LinkedIn. And you have been quite vocal about some things. So what are the discussions that are happening? Because you must be discussing the book, of course, but there must be discussions that are happening in schools. Like how can that be sorted, or any measures that they are trying to do?
To be honest, I think the whole adult world is doing more lip service, in some cases not even lip service, towards reading, and not really kind of doing something which is actionable, because I think there needs to be a structured intervention for children to go back to reading, young people to go back to reading, and not that adults shouldn't. I think people of all age groups need to be reading. We keep talking about mental health problems amongst the young people. What is going unreported and it's not being discussed in society. I think this whole mental wellness thing is something that is afflicting all startup society across all age groups. So just because you're in your 40s or 50s, right, and you're appearing perfectly normal, does not mean you're not being bothered about some things in your mind, right? And it may sound very simplistic, but books and reading long form is an antidote to so many of our problems, both at the individual level and at the societal and the global level.
I'm happy to report, Ajay, that when we met last time in October, since then I have been writing a book about developing the reading habit. And
wonderful.
That. So I took it upon myself. I thought LinkedIn pe काफी लिख लिया, but I have to step it up. So I've been writing a book. I think I'm in around 35,000.
Wow.
And the editor is also here. Mehak is helping me out. And so it's going good.
Okay,
So
wonderful.
I'm also, kind of like exploring new things, and I'm kind of researching and, doing all of that. So perhaps it could be a little, sort of contribution to what
No,
can be done.
I think every effort helps, and more power to you. And I'm glad you're doing this, and good luck with it.
I'm trying to make it as simple as possible,
Yeah,
not
because
complicated.
something like more people reading is not that there's anybody's selfish interest in getting addressed. As a society, we develop,
Yeah.
which makes this whole world a happier and a safer place for us.
Yeah, great. So, Delhi, when you were growing up, it's a part of,
Yeah.
this book as well.
Yeah.
It's the narrative, a lot was happening in Delhi. There's the politics,
Yeah.
of course, there's emergency, you have mentioned that.
Yep.
A lot of stuff was happening. You have in a very subtle manner mentioned the politics and times, how what was happening. So, any recollections, and what did you explore when you went back to this and wanted to put it in the book? Any recollections of that, and what all was happening? You have mentioned the Ranga Billa case as well. That happened, and it created sort of a ripple, huge ripple.
It was big news.
So your comments on that, perhaps?
So I think the period when I was in school, right, and I would say even in college was I think a huge period of change for India.
Okay.
And I'm talking about the period 1975 is when I entered school.
Yeah.
Was also the year when emergency was declared. Was also the year when Sholay came out.
Oh yes.
Right.
Yes,
So
yes.
both politically and culturally, like they were like significant milestones. Right, and they were like watershed years. And then I think over the next 16 years till 1991, right, if I have my dates correct, three major events happened, and all three involved the Gandhis.
Okay.
Sanjay Gandhi, Indira Gandhi, and Rajiv Gandhi. They all died, and they all died unnatural deaths. Right, and that just changed so much. So this country changed so much, the whole political equations, and because political equations got changed, right? Then societal equations got changed, then economic equations got changed, right? When Rajiv Gandhi became the prime minister, he was like, I think the youngest prime minister the country had ever had, and there hasn't been a younger prime minister since then. And but he brought in so much of hope and optimism, and unfortunately, very soon in his as prime minister, he got bogged down by all these Bofors scandals and stuff like that, and then this whole reservation thing flared up because of VP Singh. So he lost the elections, but when he was all set to come back, he was assassinated. Right. So I think, and all these are very vivid memories in my mind. All the rioting that followed Indira Gandhi's assassination, we were there. We were watching it from our.
And you were in Delhi. And,
we were in Delhi. We saw fires burning.
Must be so palpable, right, for you?
Absolutely, right. And and then color TV came in. The whole television liberalization happened. Computers came in. Sam Pitroda, suddenly under the kind of the blessings of Rajiv Gandhi, he ushered in a whole kind of taking computers to homes. All these IT companies that came up, HCL, Infosys.
So much was happening, right?
So much was happening. And
you have mentioned those television brands from back then. And I had so much fun with that because I had a Beltec at home. Okay, that was my first TV, and my father, of course, he was always like, we need to get the best tech. So he was like that, like many fathers. So I had that, and when I saw that name, oh my gosh, it was like. I was like, oh my gosh, Ajay, I love you for mentioning that brand, and so many others. It is just part of childhood. So a lot was happening, but we don't even know it, but we are shaped by all of that.
No, absolutely, right? It's like Juhi Chawla going to Miss Universe, and like all of us awake, going, gaga, like looking at her in a bikini, right, in a swimsuit, right, not a bikini but a swimsuit.
So much ahead, of times,
right, and this was it was telecast on Doordarshan way back in the mid 80s. This was before QSQT Qayamat se Qayamat tak came out.
ये तो अभी भी नहीं हो पाएगा.
नहीं, अब तो होता है कि अब तो like all the Miss Universe and all,
No, that is happening. Yeah, that is happening.
So all those were telecast. All those Aishwarya and Sushmita Sen later, right? They were all telecast in.
So the way we are going in terms of censoring now, so it will all be bad.
That's a different discussion altogether.
Of course. Great. Another thing that was quite remarkable in the book were the teachers and how there are some very funny episodes that are in the book. There is a teacher whom everybody is ogling also. That is also there. Those were some fun parts. There's a teacher who is very strict. There's a brother who stands for everything right. He himself is an all-rounder. He can do no wrong. He is the perfect guy. All of that is happening. So any anecdotes or what comes to mind in terms of those teachers and your favorite teacher out of them?
Well, we had a bunch of favorite teachers, right? I think I would say one of the all-time favorite teachers was my history teacher in class 9 and 10, Mrs. Manju Kak. And like I think everybody had that with her, like going kind of starry-eyed, going gaga over her. And she was a brilliant teacher, a history teacher, and she taught us like a good chunk of what she taught was the modern world history, right? Which was a period like the late 19th century to the Second World War and a little after that. And it was so fascinating the way she taught. And for me, I said like when I grow up, I want to be Bismarck of Germany.
Nice.
Right? And I became something else. That doesn't matter, right? And likewise, I think there are just. I think I can just go on and on. There are like so many teachers who, now on hindsight, I don't think there was any kind of, we may be scared of teachers, but I don't think we like kind of had any ill will towards anyone.
Absolutely, no.
Right?
Ill will would be like a far-off thing.
No, I think today, unfortunately, maybe
one or two, maybe things may have,
but things may have changed. The way we, but I think, they're like, there were all kinds of teachers. We had the STPW teacher who would actually take the leg of a chair and hit us with that.
Oh my
and
God.
The guy hardly needed any provocation, Mr. Ram. But we took
that was normal back then because I remember one of my maths teachers, obviously I can't take the name, but he had this habit. So he was a boxer. So, evenings he used to box and he was our maths teacher. So ingredients were there for destruction. So what happened, and like in class 10th, I'm like just trying to solve something, and most of the other students were, and he comes to you, he just puts his arm around you, just has a look at the solution, and he will just box you on your back, and his hand was like proper Gorkha. I think he should have gone into the Gorkha regiment or something. So he was a strong guy. And we were like, it used to leave a mark, literally. And everybody had become so cool with it. And we were okay. He thinks that he is doing the best for us. And he was a great teacher, by the way. So stuff like that, has it happened to you also? And
so I think we have enough such incidents. And of course, teachers have to hold their, keep their hands to themselves nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah, it was different earlier. But that's okay. That we took that all as in our stride. And the brother you're talking about is... Brother Eric Steve D'Souza. And I mentioned in my book, he could have been anyone. He was born around the same time as Steve Jobs and Bill Gates were. Right? And there are few geniuses and people like him. Right? He is the one who introduced computers to a school in India for the first time. And he had no idea how a computer is operated.
Wow.
So he taught himself computer programming so he could teach us.
Damn.
Right? And when he said, let's make it a subject in the boards,
wow.
The ICSE board said, we can, but there's no textbook for it. So he sat down and wrote a textbook.
Wow.
Right? And this is somebody who had never seen a computer in his life.
I think I have seen that book growing up, if I'm not wrong, perhaps. I don't know.
The book was called Chipping In.
I think I've heard about it growing up because, I started learning computers in the late 90s.
Yeah, so I don't know if the book was still around, but it was a great book. They taught you basic programming, so fundamentally clear. And the way he taught us in the classroom, like any of us in that classroom could have gone on to make significant careers in the software and the technology industry. I chose not to, even though I was like I loved programming. I was good at it, right? But for some reason, I said, okay, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, but great point. I mean, he learnt programming himself
Yep,
to just
absolutely.
put it. So he ultimately kind of convinced the board to put computers
Yeah.
in there. And so I read also in the book, in that part, in that specific part of the book, that he chose like the students were chosen, like who would be able to kind of, because there was limited
Yeah,
infrastructure.
so the toppers from each class were taken
Okay.
and given the option,
Yeah.
and most said yes. I don't think anybody declined.
Everybody wanted to be
So,
the
in,
AC.
so yeah, that's true. So in a batch of 250,
Yeah.
they would take only 50. So
Okay.
the top 50 were selected.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's this part in the book where you have mentioned your skills with sports. कई जगहों पे लिखा है आपने.
Yeah.
But and sometimes you failed also. And so any recollections, any anecdotes from there? Yeah.
So I never made it to any sports teams.
Okay.
When I did, they dropped me quickly enough.
Okay. That is so funny.
Yeah. So yeah, they realized. And but here's the thing.
Yeah.
We had all the stars,
Okay.
playing for our school, winning championships and all, right? But the only thing that everyone remembers from my batch is that one innings that I played.
Okay. Which is that innings? Let's hear this.
So I finally made it to a class cricket team in class 11.
Okay.
We used to have these.
But that's a huge achievement, by the way. There was a lot of competition back then.
Yeah, so the thing is, it was an interclass, when I say so, like class 11, we had 5 sections, so each section had their own team.
Got it.
Right? But even then, I imagine, like, I was so bad that all these years, till class 11, I didn't make it to the top, the team of 15 or whatever, for any sport, hockey, football, cricket, nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
But I think, Ajay, it's not that of course, you might have lagged in talent, maybe, but there was a lot of competition also. These people, everybody was very good in sports back then, because, of course, for the reasons that nobody had phones also.
Exactly. So what happened was, the first time I stepped onto the pitch to play a competitive match in school ever.
Okay.
Right? And I'm sent in, 3 balls to go, 14 runs to make to win.
Damn. That's a huge task.
Right? And the guy who's bowling to me is the guy who opens for the school.
Wow.
Right?
It's a lopsided contest.
Right?
It sounds like that.
Now, here's the thing.
Okay.
14 runs, 3 balls.
Okay.
I hit 3 sixes.
Damn. Congratulations.
Yeah, but here's the kicker. All 3 sixes were disqualified.
Why?
For that, you have to read the book.
Oh, damn. No. Acha, okay. Let's not tell them that.
Yeah.
But because, this story is so crazy.
So everyone from my batch, they don't remember the exploits of any other guys, who went on to win inter-school championships and, nothing.
Yes.
They all remember that Ajay hit 3 sixes, right? When we had, 3 balls to go, 14 runs to make, and Ajay hit 3 sixes.
Yes. No, for that you have to read the book.
Yeah.
Okay? Everything we can't serve on a platter. Na? If we tell you everything, then what's the point?
Yeah.
But great story. And those things happen, right?
Absolutely.
Those things happen. Great. What about the early reviews? The first impressions that you're getting, because now the book is out. You must have gotten, perhaps from the alumni also, some feedback. Have they read it? Some of them read it. Are there any recollections that are happening? Do tell us about that.
I think, not trying to boast here, but I think I've got some very positive feedback to the book.
Okay.
People are calling me up and saying they're loving the book. They're saying that we are sitting and, people in our family are asking, why are you smiling constantly while reading the book?
Because it takes you back to childhood.
Yeah,
right?
because they're getting amused, or their nostalgia is kicking in.
Yes.
They just like the style of writing. So I think, touch wood, I think that's that's the most heartening thing for an author.
I read that it's going to reprint.
It's already gone into reprint.
Gone into reprint. That's congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
Because it doesn't happen very often, especially in contemporary publishing. It is a rarity. Great. Another thing which I don't want to miss at all, and you have been talking about this on the internet also, about Shah Rukh Khan, one of the biggest names coming out of your school. any stories that we should look forward to reading in the book? Also, did you meet him personally, or anything that you used to hear about him, how he was, something for the fans of the great SRK?
So Shah Rukh Khan was 3 years my senior.
Okay.
So I would say out of 13 years in school, 10 years we were contemporaries.
Right.
And Shah Rukh Khan somehow was always in the news.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I think he was born with something.
Okay.
Right?
That X factor or
That
something
X
like
factor,
that.
that charisma, whatever you want to call it. Right? It was always there.
That photograph is very rare, by the way. I think I have clicked a photo of it, and I'm going to keep it.
Okay.
Keep it for long because it's so rare.
So I have a whole bunch of photos of Shah Rukh Khan, which are like they're in the archives of school magazines.
Okay.
So I've shared a few already on the internet, and there are many more.
Okay.
And so in fact, there was a time I mentioned in the book when we had 3 guys who are on the same cricket team. One is Shah Rukh Khan. One is Rahul Dev, the actor, who's Mukul Dev's brother. Right.
Yeah.
And the third, you may recall, there's a cricketer, Vivek Razdan.
Yes, I know him. So he's a commentator now.
He's a commentator now.
Yeah.
So, but he played for India also a few matches.
Yes.
Right. So all 3 of them were on the same team at one time in same.
I think, if I'm not wrong, he was a right arm, medium, something.
No,
sort of
yeah.
bowler.
So he was a like a fast bowler.
Medium quick. Yeah.
But in class 11, Vivek Razdan moved to Siddharth Patel School.
Okay.
Because for a aspiring professional cricketer, that was seen as a right stepping stone, but not St. Columbus.
Okay.
And I think it was a good decision for him because he did from there he did go on to represent India.
Yeah.
And about Shah Rukh Khan, I remember. I think in class 6 or so, we had a elocution teacher, and everybody had the hots for her, Mrs. Sudan.
Okay.
Right? And
I also have had a Mrs. Sudan at SJ.
Okay.
In Dehradun. But she was our teacher in class 11th and 12th.
Okay.
I won't comment on the hots because everybody will kill me. I know that alumni will be after, my life.
So, maybe she's the same Mrs. Sudan.
Oh my gosh.
Right? But the thing is, she only taught us for a short while. And then she went on maternity leave and never came back.
Okay.
But everybody had the hots for her.
Okay.
But the word on the street was that she had the hots for Shah Rukh Khan.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Right? And Shah Rukh Khan was only in class 8 or 9 at that time.
Damn.
Right? And but
legacy.
Yeah. But Shah Rukh Khan was like, he was playing all field sports for India, for the school. He was obviously the main theatre guy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
He was good at debates and everything.
He was doing everything, right?
Yeah, and he was doing academically very well. Yeah. Okay, he wasn't amongst the toppers, but he was a 85%er.
Yeah.
Right?
That's amazing. So he was like, he took the benefit out of this school, like everything, out of everything. Because the kind of students we do remember from school are those kind of students, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember this guy from my school who used to, run. He was an athlete.
Yeah.
All the sports, he was like up there, at the podium. He was bad at, of course, academics. But later on, he went on to, he was training in IMA and he was the Sword of Honor. He ended up becoming that. So, any contributions towards the defense services also from your school, or it was a rarity from your school?
Not too many, but one of my friends, Dinesh Sehgal, he went on to join the army.
Okay.
So I don't think too many went to the defense services.
Okay.
But at that time, I think it's fallen now. But at that time, we had a huge bunch of people who went to the IIT, Delhi College of Engineering, AIMS. We had at least St. Stephen's, at least, I think out of a batch of 250, at least about 30 to 40 of us went to some of the best colleges in the country.
Right. Great.
Right. And and when you mentioned the Sword of Honor, I mentioned that there's a story. It's never been confirmed that Shah Rukh Khan, when he was being interviewed for admission to St. Stephen's College after class 12, so he mentioned that, okay, these are my credentials, and I also won the Sword of Honor from St. Columbus School as the most outstanding student. But the rumor is that the management brushed it aside. They said it means nothing to us, and he says, if it means nothing to you, then you mean nothing to me. And he walked out of that interview and took admission in Hansraj College. Where's St. Stephen and where's Hansraj College?
Yes.
No disrespect.
Great story.
Yeah.
Great story.
So yeah, so I mentioned that story in the book also. And I think in those 13 years when I was in school, I think we had basically two absolutely exceptional geniuses.
Okay.
One was, of course, Shah Rukh Khan, right? We had some very, very good boys who went on to really excel in their chosen fields. But when you talk about genius, there was Shah Rukh Khan, and there was one guy 1 year junior to me, Siddharth Mukherjee.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And he's a very well-known oncologist based in the US.
Yeah.
And he also wrote...
The Gene.
So yeah, he's the author who also went on to win the Pulitzer.
Yes. The book is The Gene.
No, he didn't win for the Gene. He went for the earlier one, the Maladies book.
The Maladies book.
Yeah. So
great. Oh.
Yeah. So
that's a great name.
That Siddharth Mukherjee was in a different league altogether.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So
amazing. Yeah. Great. Okay. What else? There is so much going on in this book that you can ask like thousands of questions, but they won't, finish. But while writing the book, was there something that you wanted to include, but there was no data or nobody could confirm it, or there was a story which you heard about that story, but couldn't write it somehow, something like that?
I think there was like lots of such stuff, and even if something was kind of not totally confirmed, I would use my own creativity to write it in a way that I'm not saying it happened for sure, but it could have happened.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I think I also had to draw a line on what to include and what not to include, because I didn't want to make the book unwieldy.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So like kind of offline, I now narrate so many incidents. See, what happens is after you write a book like this, some of the stuff you haven't included. But then when people are reading the book, they're coming up and saying, "Oh, but this also happened." And then you get that FOMO thing. Oh shit, I should have included it in the book, right?
Yes.
But then the book could have just gone on and on. I just had to draw a line somewhere.
Yeah. Perhaps, are you correcting some things in the reprint? Are you changing anything?
No, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
Because see, again, I'm a strong believer that the original should never be tampered with.
Okay. Great.
Right? If a book has come out, now leave it at that.
Yeah. So, growing up and even now, my kids go to Patrician Brothers School. So, I keep coming across this thing, and there is a underlying kind of sentiment that there is less secularism in these schools, And your school is by the Christian Brothers.
Yeah.
What was the year they came into being? Do you remember?
The school kind of was set up, before independence.
Before independence.
Around 1941, 42.
41. So ours was like 1934, roundabout. And so this sentiment, although we know the people who study there, we are aware that how great it is, and nobody is influenced at all. And that is something which I love about these schools. Contrary to popular belief.
Absolutely.
And you have written about this in the book as well. So, any comments about that?
So this is what makes institutions like St. Columba's exceptional, because whatever the personal beliefs of the brothers who were managing it, right, they never imposed it upon us. So the school was truly secular in both letter and in spirit. Right? Like adjoining our school is the Sacred Heart Cathedral, one of the most important churches in India, right? But not once were we asked to visit the church. Not once, right, was anything spoken about Christianity in the classroom, right? So if there were some catechism classes for the Christian boys,
वो तो separate होता था.
वो separate होता था. हमारे लिए moral science होता था.
Moral science होता था हमारे लिए.
Right? And and I think because if they were on an agenda, a religious agenda, these institutions would not have survived the test of time.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
They would have collapsed long back.
Yep. About moral science, a very interesting subject because all of us wanted to bunk it.
Yeah.
At some point
That's when we used to finish our pending homework.
Yes. But so our brother used to take it personally in class 11th and 12th, and his name is Brother Dominic. Great guy.
Yeah.
Just like your brother, which you have mentioned many times in this podcast also, and in the book.
Yeah.
A great guy. He could have been anything. He knew everything. He used to play tennis, table tennis, any game, any subject,
Yeah.
whatever. He knew everything. And he used to take this subject personally. And we were wary. When he used to walk in, pin drop silence.
Yeah.
And everybody used to listen to him. And one, like, he used to talk about honesty, like, for example. So, what are your experiences with this subject growing up? And has that helped you, overall sort of, mental makeup?
So this is one thing I don't have very strong recollections of
Okay.
of what the subject matter was in moral science. I do remember we used to take that opportunity to finish a lot of our homework.
Yeah, that was
and,
there.
and try to play the fool and all.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But and the teachers were also kind of liberal.
Was there a
And
separate teacher taking it, or the class teacher would just kind
I
of?
think it could have been anyone.
Okay,
So there was no
okay.
specific teacher.
Okay.
In some grades it was the class teacher,
Yeah.
in some grades it was somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. So again, I don't have a very clear recollection of that. But I think somewhere, not just the moral science class, but I think the way the school extolled its values across the board, right, and they ensured that all the teachers, all the staff, like kind of adhered to those values. I think through that process of osmosis, it kind of got ingrained in us.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't even realize, right?
Yeah. So just
comes
it
in.
became a part of us.
Yeah.
Like it's like something like the value of coming out neatly dressed.
Yeah.
Right. That's one example.
As simple as that. As basic as that.
Yeah. As simple as that.
The nails. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, your nails, your hair, everything,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Then even the way we address elders, even today,
Yeah.
right? I'm like in my mid-50s now, and most people who are teachers are younger to me,
Yeah.
right? In the active teachers, right? But I find it very difficult to address them by the first name. Because
Impossible.
it's like almost like even if you're like a 25-year-old teacher,
Yeah.
right, which is like younger than my daughter,
Yeah.
right? I find it difficult to address her by a first name.
It's impossible because I go to the school
Yeah.
for pickup and drops and picking up my kids, dropping my kids, and we bump into teachers all the time.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, they are like very cool.
Yeah.
Cool. They are chill. They are like, hi, how are you, Rohan, and whatever. I'm like, I can't call you Sumit. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm like, I am going for the feet.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. It just happens automatically.
Yeah.
I don't want to touch their feet,
Yep.
but it happens. I don't know how. So that's when perhaps this upbringing of sort of giving respect.
Yeah.
And
I think
yeah.
that also comes from the fact that the teachers we had, most of them, right, considering their qualifications, they could have been working anywhere else. But they chose to be teachers because they found it their calling.
Yeah.
And I say this line in my book that they gave their today for our tomorrow.
That's a beautiful chapter. In fact, in this book, and I would have forgotten it if you would have reminded me, because that's something which is so important. You have mentioned it beautifully as well, that now, I mean, have we invested enough in teachers?
Yep.
You have touched the subject in the book, and now, of course, even now teachers have commitment and all of that, but has the trajectory been same for for example, like an IT engineer or other spheres?
Yeah, so even today, like nowhere in the world is teaching the most of close to being as lucrative a profession as many other. However, if people are taking to teaching even today, some are okay. There'll always be people who are doing it. Okay, I didn't get in the job, so I'll become a teacher. But I think people take to teaching for a certain calling. But unfortunately, what's changed today is when you take away the authority of the teacher, when you take away the respect that they command, right, then you demotivate them. And then this is like, why am I doing what I'm doing? I might as well at least, go and work in the private sector or in an Infosys or a tech company or a marketing job where at least I'll earn so much more.
Or I'll open a coaching institute or
whatever.
something.
Yeah, whatever. But
Any
the thing
alternate.
is, if teachers are being pulled up, not just by the school managements, but by the students and their parents, like, hello, why should a teacher be,
Absolutely.
like, why is a parent teaching a teacher to teach?
That's such a valid point. And it's happening more and more.
Absolutely, because school managements are now accountable to the private equity that is funding schools.
Yes. That's the difference perhaps. But I find it very strange because I keep having these conversations, casually with parents, and as soon as I mention something about the teaching system, all the blame goes on to the teachers.
So you have to keep parents outside the school gates.
Yeah.
They should only be allowed, like in our time, only twice a year to
Yes.
collect the report cards and at the parent-teacher meeting.
That's not happening anymore. All the parents are
Now
in
the parents are
school.
calling up teachers at home and telling them stuff and like saying, why did you deduct my child's marks?
Yes.
Why should the teacher explain to you?
And on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
That's happening.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but that is not acceptable in my book.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because I think parents have too much of a stay. We have to just trust the teacher. Whatever they are doing.
Yeah, if you don't trust the school, you don't trust the teacher, please take your child somewhere else.
Sahi baat hai. On that count, I think we have covered most of the things, many of the things, and I am so happy to read this book, and I'm inspired now to perhaps do one of mine also.
Of course, you should. You
For
should.
my school, and I hope the school also, in some ways. What about the school's role? Did they know about this book? What was happening there?
No, the school wasn't really involved in the whole process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
you did it like your
yeah,
project.
yeah,
Cool. I will also do it that way only.
No,
I'll just go
yeah,
by this thing. Thank you so much, Ajay.
No, thank you for having me on the show.
Great talking to you.
Great conversing with you as always.
And I don't know about you, but this time around, the conversation has been even more fun. We have talked about reading habit mostly.
Yeah.
When we have or Kunzum, but this is great, just great. And every millennial should read this book, because you will associate this with your childhood. Nostalgia will kick in. It will happen, and a no-brainer, to be honest. Charlie's Boys, and you'll figure out who's Charlie and whatever when you have read the book. But thank you so much for
Thanks so
having
much.
this conversation.
Yeah, thank you.